So in this video we want to look at how you can use the PeopleMaps gauges to really half the time perhaps of your recruitment process. Processing candidates can be really time consuming and it can be a big pain in the neck. So let me show you how I would approach it and the way that you can use the gauges to help you build a shortlist, prioritise your candidate list and spend more time with the candidates that are more likely to work out for you in the long run and less time with candidates that probably are never going to work out, no matter how much everybody might want it to be. So what I'm going to do is to take you through this report. As you know, in the PeopleMaps range, this is the Interview Pro range, there are a dozen or more different personality report designs. The one we're looking at here is the Interview Pro Management and Team Leader report design. Okay, so but every report within the Interview Pro range uses its own set of gauges, and those gauges will vary from report to report. So I'm going to take you quickly through this report here and show you how I would approach it. Now, first thing, so here's our gauges and our map. And we're just going through our topics, and then we come to our first gauge. And this one here is basically saying they can cope with repetitive tasks and repetitive work days. So what we're seeing here is this candidate is scoring 35, which means it's pretty low. If you have a job role that has a lot of repetition and Tuesdays are pretty much like Mondays and there isn't a lot of variety going on in the job on a day-to-day basis, then this may not be the candidate to consider because quite frankly they struggle to cope when it's very repetitive in the workplace. Now equally there will be other candidates who score really high for this because some candidates are much more comfortable and would rather have a predictable day ahead, whereas this candidate here clearly does not. So again, if you understand something about your job role and the environment, then you can start to make these decisions. So if you know it's repetitive, then already this one gauge is starting to tell you some things. Even if you didn't read anything else in this report, it's giving you some clues. Now again, I'm just running through here, I'm not even reading this text yet. What I would urge you to do, and I suggest you do it, is let's say you've got 20 or even 30 candidates, then you can run through their reports at this rate first, where you look at their gauges and you can decide. Now again, you don't even need to use all the gauges, you can pick a handful of the gauges that you feel really matter to you and this job role and use them as some sort of indicator. So again, actively listens and seeks to understand what the customers say and mean. Is this really important to you in this job role? If it is, then this person's scoring 60 plus or thereabouts, so that's not too bad. So it's definitely a contender, it's probably not a deal breaker. Moving on, are they good at making decisions? Now this might be important. Again, 55, they're not great at it, they can probably do it, but they're not going to blaze any trails. Does it matter to you? Then if so, maybe this is reducing the priority. Okay, now we're seeing a slightly higher score. Prefer to make decisions rather than have others make them for them. Well, if this is something that you're looking for people who take initiative, you're looking for people who actually will make a decision and move on, maybe it's a management role of course, then yeah, this is starting to look much better. 78 is a really good score, it comes naturally to them, not a problem. So again, you can start to see, and all we're doing here is looking at the pictures. So here's another one, results focused. Some of the gauges are larger or smaller, doesn't make any difference, it's purely a design issue. I suspect over time they will all be smaller, just so you can see more of them in tables together, and I'll show you that in a second. So results focused, again, does it matter? Then that's, you can decide from that. So here's another couple of gauges. Naturally optimistic and positive, does that matter? Is that really important? If it is, this person is looking really good because they're scoring 84. Proactive, goal orientated, if it matters, scoring 80 plus, this is a good one. And then we come down to about planning. So this is not so hot. So if it's a big planning job, then maybe that's not what's going on. And if you're looking for somebody who's really organised, then this is probably not the person that you're looking for. And of course, remember, when you're dealing with personality, it's pretty unlikely you're going to find anyone, any single individual, who ticks all the boxes and scores high for everything. That's not the nature of personality. Now, when we're looking at these things, it's not to say that someone can't do it. So let's look at this example here. Collects all the data and analyses it before taking action or making a recommendation. So that's what we're measuring here. And what we're seeing is 49. So this is someone who doesn't really have a strong natural aptitude or preference for this. And therefore, if you're looking for someone who does, it's not to say that this person can't collect data or analyse it, but they would probably have to make an effort. They would have to work at that to be able to do that. Now, if it's an occasional part of the job, it's something they have to do once a week or once a month, then that's not really a problem. That's not a deal breaker, of course, to be able to pull it off. If it's something that they have to do every day as part of the core job, then again, this candidate might not be the best person to consider, and you might not add them to the shortlist. Proactive in influencing the decisions of others. Okay, so let's say that you're looking for someone who has to be able to exert their influence, who has to be able to get other people, whether they are customers or partners or even employees or board members, if they have to get someone, have to exert their influence to get people to change their mind and make a different decision than they would have done otherwise, then this person here is scoring 87. It's something that they almost can't help but do. So again, if that's important to you, then this person clearly is scoring really high. Now, attention to detail. Of course, everybody says, yeah, we want people to make attention to detail. We don't like to see mistakes. But what we're looking at here is someone's natural preference. Now, can this person be detailed on occasion when they really have to? Yes, of course they can. They can work really hard. They can concentrate really hard. They can pull it off for a short while. Can they do it day in, day out? Probably not. It would become a real struggle for them. Whereas if someone scores high here, they never have a problem paying attention to detail. So what you're starting to see here is all these gauges, right? There's lots and lots of gauges in this report. Ability to remain calm under pressure. There's another one here. So what you're seeing are gauge after gauge, probably far too many gauges, but lots of different people are using this report for quite a variety of management and team lead type job roles. What I would suggest is that you go through the report and you identify 3 or 4, maybe even 5 maximum gauges that really matter to you. If you to only pick 4 or 5, what would they be? Make a note of them and then use those as to help you prioritize. So if you're sitting looking at a list of 20 candidates, rather than read this report, I think is over 30 pages long, you don't need to read the whole report to decide if you want to take them to the next stage of the interview process. You can literally look at those 4 or 5 gauges, and from those alone you can go, yeah, well, look at this one, no, that's not a contender, and that will give you the 5 out of 20 that you're looking for. It will help you prioritize a long list down to a short list, and then once you've got those sort of 5, half dozen or so, then you can go back and read the rest of their report in some detail. So that would be how to build a shortlist, how to save a lot of time in recruitment. So of those 20 people that applied, instead of interviewing all 20 of them or even reading all 20 reports, I would spend 10-20 minutes going through each of their gauges, pick out the ones that are scoring high in the gauges that matter most to me. I would put them aside. That's my prioritised list, and that's where I would start my interviews. I would then read those reports in detail. I would interview those candidates. I would use the report and ask the questions and do all the other stuff that you use this report to do. But I would only really do that level of detail on the short list of 5, not on all 20 of them. So there you go. So I've now, instead of having to interview 20 people, I've only had to interview maybe 4 or 5. That's a huge saving in time, and you know that you're probably going to be talking to people who have the natural aptitudes that you're actually looking for and that the job role requires.